Tyler Morgan and Jasmine Lee never imagined their Friday night would spiral into chaos. One in a stolen SUV, the other behind the wheel of a patrol car, they became the center of a high-speed chase through Little Rock that would push both of them and everyone around them to the edge of disaster. It was a quiet Friday night in Little Rock, the kind of evening where most people were settling in. The streets dimly lit by street lamps and the occasional neon glow from a convenience store. The calm was shattered when police received a frantic call about a stolen SUV barreling through residential neighborhoods at breakneck speed. The driver, a 23-year-old with a history of brushes with the law, was determined not to be caught. Within seconds, sirens pierced the night as patrol cars raced to intercept him. From the very start, it was clear this would not be a routine chase. The SUV weaved unpredictably between parked cars, scraping against curbs and narrowly avoiding mailboxes. Each turn seemed more dangerous than the last, and the officers trailing behind had to make split-second decisions to avoid disaster. The streets of Little Rock, normally familiar and manageable, became a labyrinth of tension and risk. The suspect's reckless driving pushed the patrol cars to their limits, forcing officers to calculate precisely when to slow down and when to maintain pursuit. Neighbors watched from windows and porches, gripping their phones and praying that no one would get hurt. As the SUV accelerated, it approached a highway ramp, the transition from narrow city streets to the open road amplifying the danger exponentially. Speeds soared beyond 100 miles per hour, and for a terrifying moment, it seemed as though the chase could end in a catastrophic collision. Officers braced themselves, heart rates spiking, as the stolen vehicle narrowly missed colliding with other cars merging onto the highway. Despite the suspect's audacity, there was a growing sense that the end of the chase was inevitable. The SUV's momentum became increasingly difficult to control, especially as it careened over uneven pavement and around sharp corners. Police coordinated carefully, attempting to contain him without putting the public at risk. As the chase stretched over 15 minutes, it became a high-stakes game of precision, strategy, and nerves. The SUV eventually lost control on a grassy ditch near the edge of the city, rolling slightly but coming to a halt without flipping over. Officers quickly surrounded the vehicle, weapons drawn but ready to act with caution. The young man, realizing escape was no longer possible, surrendered quietly, ending the chase that had terrified an entire neighborhood. In the aftermath, investigators pieced together the series of reckless maneuvers that had made the chase so perilous. The suspect had narrowly avoided hitting pedestrians, other vehicles, and several fixed obstacles, each moment a potential disaster. Residents spoke of the fear that had gripped them as the chase tore through their streets, a reminder of how quickly an ordinary evening could turn dangerous. The incident became a talking point for local news, not just for the adrenaline of the chase, but for the skill and calm that police demonstrated in bringing it to a safe conclusion. The stolen SUV, now damaged and abandoned, stood as a stark symbol of how close the night had come to tragedy and how a split-second decision could determine life or death. In the quiet countryside of Arkansas, the sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon when a police officer spotted a pickup truck barreling down a narrow river road. The vehicle, carrying a load of stolen electronics, had been reported only moments earlier, but it was clear that the driver had no intention of stopping. As the officer activated the siren, the truck lurched into a burst of speed, bouncing over potholes and skidding along loose gravel. The chase quickly became a test of skill as the road twisted alongside the river. Bordered by trees and uneven embankments, one wrong turn could send the truck plunging into the dark waters, and for the pursuing officers, every second was a balancing act between caution and urgency. The pickup swerved violently to avoid utility poles and road signs, its tires kicking up clouds of dust that hung thickly in the fading light. The officer's cruiser followed closely, the patrol lights reflecting off the river's surface as tension mounted. At several points, the truck slid dangerously close to the riverbank, and a single miscalculation could have resulted in a fatal plunge. As the chase progressed, the road narrowed further and the truck veered onto dirt trails that cut through dense woodland. Officers had to anticipate sudden turns, hidden dips, and fallen branches, knowing that even a minor misstep could end in disaster. The driver's knowledge of the backroads gave him an initial advantage, but the unpredictable nature of the terrain made his escape increasingly precarious. Moments of near disaster became constant companions during the pursuit. At one point, the pickup nearly toppled over a steep embankment, its rear tires catching only inches from the edge. The officer maintained a steady presence, maneuvering the patrol car carefully to avoid a collision while keeping the suspect in sight. The chase became a tense game of cat and mouse, both parties aware that one small error could be catastrophic. After several minutes of weaving through wooded paths and narrow roads, the truck slowed unexpectedly, attempting to escape on foot. The driver abandoned the vehicle near a farmer's field, disappearing behind stacks of hay and into the shadows of the surrounding woods. Officers quickly formed a perimeter, moving cautiously through the field and searching the dense underbrush. The chase that had begun on a winding river road ended with a tense standoff, the suspect eventually surrendering after realizing escape was impossible. The pickup truck, now abandoned, bore the marks of its reckless flight, with scratches, bent fenders, and mud streaks documenting its violent path. Residents nearby spoke of the adrenaline and fear that had gripped them as the chase unfolded, noting how quickly the calm rural roads had transformed into a dangerous obstacle course. The incident highlighted the particular dangers of high-speed pursuits in rural areas. Unlike urban streets, where traffic signals and bystanders often dictate speed, backroads offered little resistance to reckless driving but also amplified the risk of severe accidents. The officer's skill and careful coordination ensured that no one was seriously injured, but the memory of the chase lingered in the community. It served as a reminder that danger can appear in the most unexpected places, and that even the quietest corners of Arkansas could become the setting for a dramatic, life-threatening pursuit. One afternoon in Fayetteville, the ordinary hum of a bustling shopping mall was shattered by the roar of tires on pavement. A young man had just stolen hundreds of dollars worth of electronics from a popular store and was desperate to escape. Security had barely noticed before he bolted toward the parking lot, and police were quickly alerted. What started as a simple theft turned into a dangerous high-speed chase across rows of parked cars, sending shoppers scrambling for safety. The suspect zigzagged through the lot, narrowly missing pedestrians who froze in shock as the SUV weaved around them. The sudden chaos transformed the familiar surroundings into a scene of tension and unpredictability. The stolen SUV proved difficult to stop. Every maneuver seemed calculated to evade capture while pushing the limits of safety. The drivers swerved sharply to avoid patrol cars, scraping against the corners of parked vehicles and sending shopping carts tumbling. Security cameras captured the frantic chase from multiple angles, recording the terrifying speed and near collisions that unfolded over mere seconds. Officers had to anticipate the driver's next move constantly, aware that any hesitation could result in serious injury or worse. The air was thick with adrenaline as the chase moved through the maze of cars, lighting poles, and concrete barriers, each obstacle a potential hazard that could escalate the situation into tragedy. At one point, the suspect attempted to ram a pursuing patrol car, forcing officers to execute evasive maneuvers. The SUV surged forward, tires squealing on asphalt. As the chase became a perilous dance of speed, skill, and split-second decision-making. Shoppers ducked behind vehicles, their hearts racing as they watched the stolen vehicle barrel past, narrowly missing other cars and pedestrians. The officer driving the patrol car remained focused, matching the suspect's movements with precision while ensuring that innocent bystanders stayed out of harm's way. Every turn, acceleration, and sudden stop kept the tension at its peak, leaving the entire parking lot holding its breath. Despite the chaos, law enforcement's strategy proved effective. Officers carefully boxed in the vehicle near the edge of the lot, cutting off escape routes without creating further danger. The suspect, realizing there was nowhere left to run, brought the SUV to a stop. He emerged from the car reluctantly, hands raised in surrender, ending a chase that had left shoppers stunned and law enforcement relieved. The aftermath revealed the extent of the near-misses: dented cars, scattered debris, and a shaken community reminded everyone how quickly ordinary moments could spiral into perilous situations. Investigators later reconstructed the chase, noting the suspect's reckless maneuvers and the high-risk decisions that could have easily led to disaster. The incident became a topic of conversation across the city, a dramatic example of how even a seemingly minor crime could escalate into a dangerous situation in seconds. For the shoppers who had witnessed it, the memory of the SUV weaving through the parking lot, inches from pedestrians and vehicles, remained vivid. The chase also highlighted the importance of strategy, coordination, and calm under pressure for law enforcement officers, whose skill prevented what could have been a devastating outcome. It was a powerful reminder that danger often comes when it is least expected, and that even a routine day can suddenly become a high-stakes test of skill and nerves. In Benton County, the early morning fog clung to the fields and back roads, as a man wanted for a string of burglaries climbed into a stolen vehicle and made his escape. The open farmland quickly became a high-stakes arena, with wide fields giving him room to maneuver but also exposing him to the keen eyes of pursuing officers. The suspect's strategy was bold. He intended to use the farm roads to reach the highway, thinking the combination of rural cover and speed would give him the advantage. From the moment the pursuit began, it became clear that the chase would be dangerous, a blend of unpredictable terrain and high-speed driving that tested both the suspect's skill and the officer's patience. The man navigated narrow dirt roads, the tires of his vehicle kicking up clouds of dust that limited visibility for both himself and the officers trailing him. He swerved around fences and through small creeks, each maneuver increasing the risk of a crash. At times, the truck nearly flipped over embankments or ran into farming equipment left at the side of the road. The officers behind him had to anticipate every sudden change in direction, while avoiding the deep ruts and uneven surfaces that could send their own vehicles careening off the path. The tension was relentless, each moment requiring perfect coordination and nerves of steel. As the chase moved closer to the highway, the dynamics shifted dramatically. The suspect merged onto a busy interstate, accelerating to speeds well over 100 miles per hour. The flat, open road allowed him to gain distance, but it also increased the danger exponentially. Traffic moved unpredictably, with commuters unaware that a high-speed pursuit was unfolding around them. Officers had to navigate through moving vehicles, judging every lane change and turn with precision. The suspect's overconfidence became apparent as he pushed the stolen vehicle harder, misjudging curves and underestimating the difficulty of controlling a truck at such velocity. The turning point came when he approached a sharp curve at the edge of the highway. In his haste, he failed to slow down enough to maintain control. The truck skidded violently, colliding with a guardrail. Metal crumpled and tires screeched as the vehicle came to a halt, narrowly avoiding flipping over completely. Emergency crews arrived quickly, and the suspect was apprehended without injury. The chase, which had stretched from quiet back roads to the high-speed chaos of the interstate, left a trail of minor property damage and shaken commuters. The incident illustrated the extreme dangers of blending rural and urban environments in a police pursuit. Open fields gave the suspect a sense of freedom, but the transition to the highway created conditions ripe for disaster. Officers had to constantly adapt, switching strategies to account for changing terrain and traffic conditions. In the aftermath, investigators reconstructed the chase, noting how close the incident had come to a serious accident. Residents and commuters who witnessed the pursuit described the adrenaline and fear, and the story became a cautionary tale about the unpredictable consequences of criminal behavior and high-speed flight. The suspect's capture ended the chase, but the memory of dust-filled country roads, high-speed merges, and near misses lingered as a stark reminder of how quickly ordinary roads can become deadly when recklessness meets skillful pursuit. On a foggy night in Fort Smith, the city's streets were shrouded in a thick, almost suffocating mist that made every shadow seem larger and every movement harder to track. Police received a report of a stolen sports car tearing through residential neighborhoods, and officers quickly mobilized to intercept the vehicle. As they turned onto the main road, the low visibility intensified the tension. The suspect, aware of the patrol cars behind him, pushed the car to its limits, accelerating with a reckless precision that made the chase impossible to ignore. The streets became a blur of headlights, sirens, and the echo of engines as the pursuit raced toward a narrow bridge spanning the river that cut through the city. The bridge was notorious for its sharp turns and lack of shoulder space, and on this night, the fog made it even more dangerous. As the suspect sped onto the structure, the patrol cars followed closely, every officer aware that a single misstep could send the vehicle over the edge. The driver made unpredictable maneuvers, weaving between lanes and braking suddenly, testing the skill and patience of the pursuing officers. The roar of the engine and the squeal of tires against wet pavement created a tense symphony, echoing across the water below and adding to the surreal danger of the moment. Each second stretched longer as the chase progressed. The combination of speed, limited visibility, and the narrow bridge creating a sense that disaster could strike at any moment. The suspect's recklessness peaked when he suddenly stopped in the middle of the bridge, refusing to move. The police had to adjust instantly, switching from high-speed pursuit to careful negotiation, wary of any sudden movement that could trigger a catastrophic crash. The officers maintained a perimeter, using the patrol cars to shield the edges of the bridge while slowly approaching the vehicle. Fog wrapped around the scene like a thick curtain, making it impossible to see clearly beyond a few feet, and the danger was tangible. The driver remained tense, trapped between the law and the edge of the bridge, his fate hanging in the balance. What followed was a delicate and calculated approach. Officers used careful, methodical movements, speaking commands, and maintaining visual control while avoiding sudden actions that could escalate the situation. The tension reached its peak as the suspect weighed his options, the surrounding environment amplifying the pressure. After several intense minutes, he stepped out of the car, hands raised, surrendering to the officers who had managed to contain the situation without a single injury. The bridge, which had moments before seemed like a potential scene of disaster, became a place of relief and resolution as law enforcement secured the vehicle and the suspect. The aftermath of the chase left an impression on everyone who witnessed it. The fog, the narrow roadway, and the high-speed maneuvers made it clear how easily a deadly accident could have occurred. Residents recalled the eerie glow of headlights cutting through the mist and the roar of engines bouncing off the river below. The chase served as a reminder of the unpredictability and danger of high-speed pursuits, especially in environments where one mistake could have catastrophic consequences. The stolen sports car, now abandoned on the bridge, and the apprehended suspect were stark symbols of how close the night had come to tragedy, highlighting the courage and skill required to navigate such a perilous scenario safely.